and the community. Now let's look at the older segment of our population. The growth of the population over age 65 is steadily on the increase. By 2050, it is estimated that 24% of the entire U.S. population will be elderly, because, as we know, the baby boomer population is aging. Along with the growing number of elderly community dwellers is the increased incidence of chronic diseases among the elderly population. And that means more demand for and use of health services, no doubt straining the healthcare budget. A thorough assessment of your elderly clients is crucial. It begins with understanding the primary age-related changes. Aging doesn't only affect the skin. It affects the skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular, urinary, gastrointestinal, endocrine, reproductive, and neurosensory systems. As a community health nurse, you'll conduct a social assessment along with your physical assessment of your elderly clients. The social assessment is a strong indicator of the client's ability to function independently. You'll look at the elderly client's living situation, ability to perform activities of daily living, support system, financial status, and how well he engages in social interaction. Since most elderly people live in a community setting, this social assessment is imperative. Common sense tells us that a major threat to an elder is the risk for falls. It can be a misstep, such as a trip or a slip, or a result of syncope, dizziness, vertigo, orthostatic hypotension, drug side effects, the interaction of multiple drugs, specific disease processes such as cardiac dysrhythmias, neurological causes such as Parkinson's disease, and idiopathic or unknown causes. So, as a community health nurse, you'll conduct a risk assessment for your elderly clients for falls. What factors would you consider? Age, a history of falls, balance, mental status, vision, medications, chronic diseases, and incontinence. Next, we'll take a look at the environment and its potential for either promoting or adversely affecting the health of the community. Individuals in the community must be informed consumers when it comes to environmental health issues specific to the area in which they live. What exactly must community health nurses understand about the relationship between individuals in the community and their environment? First would be the pathways of exposure in the environment, and then prevention as well as control strategies in the environment. You must watch for intended and unintended environmental exposures. You'd have to know how to conduct an environmental health history. Recognize potential environmental health hazards and sentinel illness. Make appropriate referrals, and access and provide information to clients. Finally, you'd have to understand the legislation and regulations related to environmental health. To protect the public, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, exercises extensive authority over all environmental concerns. The EPA deals with land, air, and water pollution, the public water supply, and noise pollution. Causes of environmental disease include physical agents such as radiation, lead, and asbestos, chemical agents such as radon and poisons, biological agents such as infectious organisms, plants, and animals, and psychosocial agents such as poverty and crowded living conditions. Many businesses and industries employ occupational health nurses. These nurses make a vital contribution to employee health and productivity. Employees need and are entitled to safe and healthful work environments. Employers are becoming increasingly aware that there are advantages to providing health care and health promotion in the work setting. Employees spend large amounts of time in the work setting. They are a captive audience, they are at risk for health problems, they can be motivated to maintain health to continue to work, and problems in the work setting can be controlled efficiently and cost-effectively. All these factors add up to an optimal climate for health education and promotion. So what are the responsibilities of an occupational health nurse? You'd of course promote employee health, you'd focus on preventing illness and injury, you'd do pre-employment assessments of prospective employees, you'd coordinate periodic screening tests, you'd be a case manager, You'd monitor the work environment for health hazards as well as safety hazards. You'd include managers in developing new health services, and you'd be an employee advocate. You'd also be the first resource for an employee who is injured or becomes ill on the job to ensure compliance with workers' compensation laws and procedures. Your work environment assessment would include documenting the workplace, the dates the employee worked, the type of industry, job duties, health hazards in the workplace, protective equipment used, and health problems related to work. Workplace hazards can be biologic, chemical, environmental, mechanical, physical, or psychosocial. The top hazardous substances in order of risk are lead, arsenic, metallic mercury, benzene, and vinyl chloride. Occupational health nurses have a responsibility to the employees, the employers, and the community. Do you know the leading cause of death of people between the ages of 1 and 34 years? It's unintentional injuries. They also rank among the 10 leading causes of death for those outside that age range. The leading causes of death in the home include falls, poisoning, fire, and drowning. These statistics make assessing the home environment an important task for community health nurses. A home assessment includes the age and type of residence, the availability of adequate sanitation, refrigeration, heating, cooling, and space, and risks for poisoning, fires, burns, and other injuries. If you're a community health nurse assessing a household for potential environmental threats, you'd focus on assessing the entryway, the living area, the kitchen, the bathroom, and the bedroom. There are several potential hazards in the home environment: radiation, lead and heavy metals, noise, poisons, water pollution, and air pollution. And that brings us to environmental impact. When there are positive and negative changes to the environment that affect the people, animals, and plants living in it, it's called the environmental impact. We can't just look at environmental impact as it affects people today, but rather at its long-range impact on the human species. Just think of how environmental hazards impact human health. Hazards can affect the eyes, the ears, and the endocrine, blood and lymphatic, gastrointestinal, genitourinary, integumentary, cardiovascular, neurosensory, respiratory, reproductive, and musculoskeletal systems. And the best way to reduce these risks are prevention and control. That means environmental modification, personal protection, environmental monitoring, education, medical intervention, government regulation, and exposure standards. The potential is enormous, but remember, it all begins with the basics of health and safety. Let's shift our focus to epidemiology, a cornerstone of community health. It is the study of the distribution and determinants of health-related states or events in specific populations and the application of this study to improving a community's health. In other words, why are some people more likely to get sick than others, and what can we do about it? The use of populations instead of individuals distinguishes epidemiology from clinical medicine. There are 3 basic concepts that underlie epidemiological investigations: causality, risk, and rates of occurrence. Causality is the concept that one event is the result of another event. Today is the age of multiple causation. If you consider heart disease, you can identify numerous causes for the disease, including high cholesterol intake, smoking, and inactivity, to name just a few. There are 5 terms associated with causality: consistency, strength of association, specificity, temporal relationships, and coherence. Consistency means that when the cause is present, the effect occurs. For people to get hepatitis B, they have to be exposed to the hepatitis B virus. Strength of association is statistical significance. The greater the correlation between the causative factor and the health condition, the greater the relationship between cause and effect. The more cigarettes you smoke, the greater your risk for lung cancer. Specificity means